In this problem, we're going to take a look at a situation where we've got a couple people walking away from each other, and we need to find the distance between them. Going to be using a little bit of law of cosines here. So let's check out the problem. Two sisters leave their house from point A, so this is the house, at the same time. One sister travels at a bearing of 195 degrees at 2.3 miles per hour to location M. So that's the first sister. The second sister travels on a bearing of 42 degrees at 2.8 miles per hour, going a little faster to location N. They're going to be walking continually, and we want to know how far apart to the nearest mile they will be after 3 hours. All right, so first thing we've got to figure out is this idea of bearing. So bearing comes from our compass directions. There's north, and here we have south, and here we have west, and here we have east. And so bearing is measured from the north going in a clockwise direction. Okay, so we have our bearing of 195 degrees comes clockwise down here. So that's 195 degrees. Okay. And this is going to be 2.3 miles per hour. We'll talk about that in a second. Our next angle here is going to be a bearing of 42 miles per hour. Oops. Let's try this again. So this guy right here is going to be 42 miles per hour. All right, now we can do this a couple ways. We could think of these as vectors, and we could actually just use these, this speed, okay? And we get a speed that we can multiply. That would actually work. But what we want to know here is distance. So let's find the distance. How far will this first sister travel if she's going 2.3 miles per hour for 3 hours? Well, if she travels this far for 3 hours, she's going to be 6.9 miles. All right. So 2.3 times 3 gives us 6.9. So that's how far that M will be. Then we need to travel from H to N. In 3 hours, we're going to have 2.8 times 3. So 2.8 times 3. Let's try that again. 2.8 times 3. That's going to give us 3 times 3 is 9, minus 0.6 would be 8.4. All right, so we have 8.4. All right, so it's 8.4. Now we're all ready to set up the law of sines. Let's call this side A. And so we know the law of cosines, that is, says A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2B times C times the cosine of the angle between them. A. Okay. So let's fill it in. We don't know A squared, but we knew we'd know a B. We've got 6.9 squared plus 8.4 squared minus 2 times 6.9 times 8.4 times the cosine of our angle, which we know. Oh, what is that angle? That's a good question. Do we know that angle? Is it 195? Is it 42? Well, we're going to have to go ahead and subtract those there. And so we end up with A. We'll call that angle, the measure of angle capital A. Actually, it already has a number. It's called H. It has a variable, I should say, or a label. So the measure of angle H is going to be 195 minus 42. And so that's going to be 153. Okay? All right, 153. So we want to find the cosine of 153. All right. So let's calculate that out. And that gives us 221 approximately. Let's keep several decimal places for now. Okay, and then we're going to square root that because we know that that's a squared, and we end up with a is approximately 1481. And then we're going to ask ourselves, does that make sense that this would be approximately 14.881? And if these were traveling in exact opposite directions, they'd be about 8.4 plus 6.9, so that's going to be about 15.3 units apart if they were going exact opposite directions. This is something less than 15.3, so it sounds like a reasonable answer. So we can stop there. That is our answer. That is the distance in miles. Now they wanted it in a whole number of miles, so we got about 15 miles. Okay. All right. So we found out. Let's check how far apart to the nearest mile the sisters will be after 3 hours. We got it. The 3 hours is built in because of this time. That's where they'll be at 3 hours. And so we've solved the triangle with the law of cosines.